Welcome to another night of racing here at Woodbine Mohawk Park, a Thursday night edition here. I'm John Rallis, and I won't be flying solo tonight, but I won't be working with the Hall of Fame co-host Randy Waples. He is off today, and he is enjoying his birthday. So a happy birthday to Randy. I hope he's enjoying himself, because he might have to do the heavy lifting the next couple of days, because as Evan did mention, a lot of us will be at the Meadowlands participating in some Hambletonian festivities, the 100th edition of the Hambletonian. And Evan's announcing tonight, so we've got a strong Kawartha contingent here, and alongside me is going to be Nick Boyd, as many of you know him as Ralphie as well. And this is your second go around here on TV. First time that we're going to get a chance to work together. We've chopped it up about plenty of things off camera. Now we've got to get down to the nitty gritty here and talk about some racing.
We do. This will be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it, and hoping you can flaunt your handicapping prowess, because last time you gave out a pick 5 ticket, we didn't get to show it on camera, the ticket on visual, but hopefully you can have some similar success. And
it'd be nice. It's hard to follow up, John.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to follow up. Yeah, just too bad there wasn't a record of it somewhere, so people can go back and see. But I do believe you. You did submit that ticket there, and it was a good showing there by you, making us handicappers look a little bit
Sometimes you get
there.
lucky, beginner's luck.
Sometimes you do get lucky, it's for sure. But hopefully we can get a little bit luck this evening, because some races look formful to me, and some of them are pretty tricky. But I think that it's a nice card and plenty to look forward to over the course of the weekend as well. But we're going to touch on some track plays, though, Nick, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on a few things, because we look at this on a nightly basis now, and we've kind of expanded it now. So it used to be just a 3/4 pole of where horses were, the eventual winners were. Now we've expanded it to the half. Eventually we'd like to expand it even further along, but not sure if you got a chance to see the races on Tuesday night, but I think for you mostly, you could see that a lot of ones on the page exist, and a lot of top 3 finishes at the 3/4 pole. So I just kind of want to ask you, I mean, when you're driving horses, though, for me personally, I like to know that horses want to be in the thick of things early. For you, when you're driving horses, do you take that same approach, or do you drive horses mostly to their capabilities or what their strong suits are?
I think generally I would drive them to their capabilities, their strong points, and how the field sets up. But as an overall rule, I think you see it in harness racing across the board, especially this day and age, and more modern style, where horses are placed up near the front and they tend to be more successful.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes I know there's some added pressure sometimes, especially if you look out at the odds board and see that maybe you're a heavy choice, but I do believe in that. You do want to give your horses a chance, but you also want to drive them to the best of their abilities. I don't believe in that because you're a 1 to 5 shot. You've got to drive horses on the point, right? I think you got to give them the best opportunity to win while still giving them a chance to.
Yeah, by all means, you have to be, looking at the program, looking how the race sets up, and driving your horse to the best of its abilities. But there's also comes into play what other people are going to do, and it doesn't mean just because you're 1 to 5 you need to be on the point. I think a lot of people do that. They control the race, and generally, if you have the best horse, you want the other field to beat you, not you beat yourself.
Yeah. Speaking of on point, we got to make sure that you and I are on point tonight through this 10-pack, and hopefully we can provide some winners, because we are going to dive into some replays here and take you through this 10-pack and maybe show you what we saw as some of the standout performances from last week with some of the competitors that will be competing throughout the night's card. And we're going to kick things off, as we always do, with a $75,000 guaranteed pick 5. We've got a field of 8. We're going to be on the trot. You could see we've got some Kawartha Downs regulars or some shippers coming in on the card, so I know some horses that you're likely familiar with. Wisdom Hanover, right now currently the 5-2 favorite as the betting has opened, and she's had a couple of starts here to get herself acclimated on the big track, and she's made a good showing of herself. I did not include her on my early pick 5 ticket whatsoever. There's a mare that I'm really intrigued with here tonight. Not intrigued with, one that I really like in this spot, and that's going to be the 3-horse Cadiddle. Curious to know, where did you go in this spot in race number 1, Nick?
Interesting, John. I kind of sided with you. I do know a lot about Wisdom Hanover. She didn't race last year, and she was highly touted by the connections, and she's brought along by Doug High. He brings them along nice. Came down here, James won with her. A little funny, last week James ended up parked the whole mile. You rarely see that out of James, and came in and he said to the trainer, jeepers, I thought she would have finished a little bit better. Obviously tongue in cheek, but picking up Bobby, I like that as well. Bobby's excellent with trotters, so certainly not going to hurt her there. But I went with the 3 as my top selection, but I also faded away to Trevor's horse there, the 5, the Green Book. I know there's a bit of a stale date there, but her form before that was excellent. And I suspect Trevor and Shannon will have that filly ready, and it wouldn't shock me if she was in the mix there at the end either.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think that she really figures in here. She's got a good draw to work with. But speaking of Cadiddle, we'd like to show her most recent effort in what was a 4th place try, though. We've seen this mare, though, Nick. She really hasn't put forth a bad effort all year. I know just 3 wins to show for it through 16 tries. And again, a mare who never got a chance to race at 2 and 3, doing all her racing so far this year and making a good account for herself. But you'll see Phil right now, Nick, currently 3rd over. And I thought she finished up. You know, we've seen her finish up with a little bit more pop, but I think that was those were some pretty tepid panels that the front end got to go. And I thought she sprinted really well to be 4th in this effort.
Yeah, I liked her efforts. She kind of puts forth a great effort for Jerry Duford every week. And if you look her last 4, John, she's been in outside posts and maybe what you'd call a little bit stiffer competition. Foxy Amy, my friend Jose, just to name a few. But she closed up well, and I think with her inside spot and the field that she's in against, I think this could set up well where she's closer.
I completely agree. I think that's why I sided with her in this spot. She does have an inside draw to work with, and again, just the outside draws can be a little bit of a detriment, especially with the way her racing style kind of pans out. But the biggest thing is also, I mean, you look at the classification a little bit closer. It's fillies and mares non-winners of 2 or 30,000. Ontario sired 50,500 lifetime. She just fits that mold. So I think it's a better spot for her in terms of the competition that she takes on this evening. I also think that she's got a much better draw to work with. So a lot of positives going in the direction of Cadiddle, but I think Shampoo Girl, one that merits a lot of respect here for trainer Rick Ziron. James McDonald's going to be back aboard here after making a miscue in her most recent start with him in the bike.
Yeah, I noticed that in both races where she's made a miscue, she seemed to trot a huge middle half, or at least last 3 quarters. Last week, 123 and 3. I think that'll draw the attention of some folks. When she stays on stride, obviously a very capable filly, but she also doesn't seem to finish them races off yet, like you'd like to see. Very talented, but I just kept her out of my pick 5, early pick 5.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fault her for getting beat by the likes of Stormont Beautiful or Little Sweet. You know, especially fillies who, you know, are gold level fillies. So I won't be too hard on her in that regard, but I think one that definitely merits respect with the draw, with the driver, and the connections that she hails from as well. There's our thoughts on race number 1. We're going to skip over to race number 2, and we're going to switch gates here. We're going to go to the pace. We've got When You Wish Upon a Star, leg number 2 for these 2-year-old pacing fillies. I tell you what, though, Nick, there's a filly who really caught my attention last time out, given her effort. One that I liked in that spot, and I love the price that I got at 5-1 offering, and that's the far outside Adina Hanover. I thought she was airborne in that effort last time out, and I think it's really intriguing that Louis Waugh, who books off a determination filly to take this daughter of Captain Treacherous that Sean Stacy sends out. Did you go this direction as well?
I actually did not.
Okay.
I went over to the morning line favorite, Jay.
Okay.
I felt like a lot of people will be going in the direction of Adina Hanover, given you're going to see that 26 flat jumping off the page. Not to take anything away from the filly, obviously Louis staying on speaks volumes to that filly's probably ability. But I stuck with Jay. I think Bobby handled her well. It was one of those nice starts. You know, Doc Moore's fired out to the front quite a bit. She's obviously dropping out of the gold. And he controlled the race, and, you know, nice, easy, moderate fractions for her. And almost like, you know, she's obviously a little bit green being a 2-year-old. She maybe fell asleep a little bit on Bobby in that last turn. And once Bobby got her into gear, she just kept getting stronger and stronger as she paced down the lane. And you can see him after the wire. Like, he's still well in hand.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and we'll get a chance to see that now as we pop up that replay between Jay and Adina Hanover. I mean, what I want to highlight is the Sean Stacy trainee and how she finishes late in the mile when she does find the seam late. So there's a look at Adina Hanover right now. Louis had an option. Do I pull and potentially work out a second over trip? Took a more patient approach here, and I tell you what, his filly really responded with a wicked late kick here. You could see Jay is being confronted by Tyler Jones and Cackleberry, and Bobby puts her away, but you could see Adina Hanover. When she angles out right now, I mean, she just starts motoring. And watch this. She puts in a little bit of a step. She was pacing so quick, Nick. And then afterwards, she just put that little step in. But look at the way she finished. I mean, I thought that was a great effort. I like the body language of Bobby as well. But what did you take away from that performance overall?
Well, I certainly noticed a step when she got into high gear, and you're certainly not going to deny that high turn of foot. The one thing I will note about that is she didn't have to do any of the work.
Okay.
She sat an easy trip. She snuck out late. She paced on by. What I liked about Bobby is partway down the lane, Bobby sunk into his horse, and you can see him. She's strong on the face going across the wire. Not to take anything away from Medina Hanover. I like the way she closed too. Obviously, those few steps was from the speed, 26 flat for a 2-year-old filly. I'd be interested to see what she can do on the end of it when maybe she has to do a little bit more work, which I expect she will have to tonight.
A sibling to Allywag Hanover as well. And Louis is familiar with driving Allywag Hanover when he first started out his young career here when he was racing in the Ontario circuit. So gets a chance to sit behind his sister here tonight in Adina Hanover once again. And again, just going to matter, I think, come down to a matter of trip, though. I know that Garnet Barnsdale making Jay his best bet here because he probably envisions a more favorable trip. But I think if you're Louis, I think you've got to be even more confident now that you've gotten a chance to sit behind this daughter of Captain Treacherous, and with the way that she finished up last week. I mean, I think if she replicates a similar performance and she's close to Jay, I just don't see how the Doc Moore trainee is going to be able to fend her off, in my opinion. But we're going to see how it all shakes out, obviously going to the final. But the two fillies to watch out for. I'm intrigued by the shoeing change on Twin Bee Fierce as well. I thought she was in a good spot, didn't have as much finish. What are your quick thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like Twin Bee Fierce there. I've got her in on my ticket as well. I just don't see her competing with those top two fillies, at least for the win spot, but certainly should be in the mix.
Jay and Adina Hanover surely to take the bulk of the support in race number 2 and leg 2 of the When You Wish Upon a Star. We're going to move on to race number 5 here, and this closes out the early pick 5. We've got more rookies to look at, this time on the trot. Morning line favorite being the 4-horse Lily Rain, and the second choice in the morning line is going to be the 10-horse Chex Mix. And I think, unfortunate for Chex Mix, drew a gold, drew an outside draw, made her debut in a gold, I should say, and drew an outside draw in that effort, and made a little bit of a miscue when she jammed up. But Lily Rain, I thought that both starts, I think she's taken a step forward in each of them. What say you?
Yeah, I believe you're right there, John. I think she's going to be your prohibitive favorite, and for very valid reasons. I see why everyone would be jumping on board there. She looked well in hand to Bobby last week. It almost looked like she was going to trot by. She got on the right line a little bit. Bobby had to correct her, and there was nothing wrong with that finish there. She was trotting well on the end of it, but I'd expect her to take the bulk of the money when the tickets come in.
Yeah, and I think with Bob aboard now tonight, I think now that he's got a start under his belt with this filly, I think that he's going to be even more confident in her tonight. And speaking of her being on a little bit of a line, we'll get a chance to look at that stretch drive with this Mike Keeling trained filly here, and we're going to cue it up now. There she is, first over. She's making a charge at the McNair trainee there, and you could see her. It looked like maybe she was going to get there. You knew it was going to be a sprint to the wire, Nick, and like you mentioned, we're going to see shortly that she just starts to run in a little bit. But I like the way that she was moving, but she's obviously got to be a lot more straighter, and I think, again, it was a good effort. She showed some trot first time out with driver Paul McDonnell, and she showed some trot in this effort as well, but just got to straighten out those corks because it could cost you some money.
Yeah, it certainly could, and you could see even coming out of the turn, she was a little bit. She had her head, just cranked out a little bit, and Bobby did a great job to keep her going. He nearly got there against the McNair trainee, but again, I figure she'll be the prohibitive favorite. It's not where I'm going on that ticket. I'm going to try to beat her. I just saw some value in some horses that I liked that were coming off there, but she should strike us as the heavy favorite, I believe. When
Would you go in that race?
That race, my top pick, I landed on the 1 horse.
Okay.
Southwind Florence for Susie Kerwood. Her barn's been hot lately. The qualifier over at Grand River, 2-3. I know it doesn't look like much. Grand River's been very heavy as of late, very deep track. So we're, I'm just looking somewhere else. But I also got on to the 6 with the James McDonald driver change, and the 10 Check Mix, who we're seeing here in this replay.
Yeah, I think those are some contenders that could be a little bit of a sleeper player here, but we'll get a look at Chex Mix, and you could see that's her behind Bingo Night, who was an eventual winner here in this qualifier. I like how close and how tight that this filly was to Tyler's helmet there, and you could see even after the wire, I mean, she just trots. She just continues to trot forward and has a lot of trot late. It's unfortunate that she did make a miscue in her first career start, but that was a tougher spot in that effort as well. I mean, she needs to stay trotting, though. That's the biggest thing, though, Nick. She's got an outside draw to work with. I'm not going to let that deter me from, picking her in this spot. I do like her a lot. I'm actually going to single her on my pick 5 ticket and hoping that she stays trotting. She can work out a good trip. I do think that from what I saw in the qualifying effort, she's got a little bit more go than the 4-horse.
Yeah.
I just don't know if she's going to stay to task, and I don't know what kind of trip I'm going to see, though. But I like the ability with the starter of Green Manalishi.
Yeah, I can't fault Check Mix there. If you look, there was a horse pulled out into the flow. They got bunched up. One made a break, and I think that just threw her off. I don't think she'll be in that position tonight, even with the outside draw. I think JD will get her away a little bit better. I think she'll be in the mix and in the flow. But for my ticket, I went with the 1-6-10, John.
I will say, before we move on to race number 6, I think that Southwind Florence, a filly who I think qualified better than the line indicates, so I will say that.
It certainly does.
Yeah, so there's our thoughts in race number 5, and one that closes out this early pick 5. And we're going to move on to race number 6, which kickstarts the late pick 5. And we've got another trot race here, the 5-year-olds and younger non-winners of 1. And I always find this to be such a tough class, Nick. I really have some difficulty handicapping horses who, especially trotters, who kind of are struggling to kind of find their form and get their way to the winner's circle. I am going to side with one who's winless in 6 tries. Shipping in from Kawartha Downs, though, I'm going to go into the rail horse Crypto Hanover, but there's one we want to highlight here, a couple of rivals we want to highlight here. I'd like to highlight the 6-horse Kema in this one's effort first and foremost. I thought he recovered nicely on after a break, and we'll show his effort here. As you can see, Tyler Bort way at the back, 4th over there, but he was there for a reason. It's because he did go off stride early on in the mile, so we'll get a chance to look at how this guy finishes off his mile late, and I thought he responded, I thought he recovered nicely, and I think this is a horse that's racing better, and he's inching closer to a win at this level, Nick.
Yeah, he made a really kind of actually a little bit of a dirty break. Nearly jumped into Mike Whalen's bike there right behind the gate, and certainly recovered very nicely. You're talking about Kawartha connections. Well, this horse was bred by a lady from the Kawartha area and still part owner, but recovered nicely. Obviously has the speed, but just looking at him, I don't know him personally, but looks like he can be a little erratic, or maybe he's just a little bit of a hot-headed trotter.
And we spoke about how obviously it's some of these horses kind of struggle to find the winner's circle and are maybe struggling to put forth consistent efforts. I want to highlight Longlegs' effort from a couple starts back on July 14th in a grassroots try. This filly hasn't hit the board in 15 lifetime starts, but I tell you what, I think in half of them she's put forth good efforts, Nick, despite that. So I think if she literally can stay to task, I think if she could work out a closer trip, I think she's gonna find herself in the winner's circle at some point soon too. And you could see there Todd Ratchford up along the inside, Nick. This filly's got some trot late in the mile.
Yeah, she has some trot, John, but it's always interesting to me when you see a Matt Bax trainee that's not moving forward off the gate. Yeah. So as you can see in the lines, they're littered with X's. So there's obviously a reason, and Todd has to finesse her a little bit. She has the speed to go with them, but I just think she'll get herself into poor position here, and I certainly didn't include her on my tickets.
Yeah, I used her in my pick 5s just because if the trip scenario somehow works out with her, I do think that she's got enough late trot to be a main contender in this spot. But I went to the Kawartha Downs shipper Crypto Hanover. I think when Dr. Pete Johnston just brings these horses to the big track, they seem to put forth a pretty good effort. I'm expecting that to be the case here with the starter of Green Shoe. And I believe you were a dominant winner in that race, though, if I'm not mistaken. So you never even got to see kind of where she was in the mile.
No, I didn't, but I watched the replay, and it was actually shocking in that last race that she stayed up and that she was able to finish the race. It was a pretty dirty break in the first turn made by another horse that took her out. But I actually qualified her first lifetime qualifier, and I've singled her on my late pick 5 ticket because I have a lot of faith in this daughter. Brownie's driven her. Doug Brown has driven her very conservatively. Brought her along the right way. She's, it's a non-winners of 1 at Kawartha, but there's often combined with non-winners of 2, non-winners of 3 because just of the horse shortage that we're facing down there. And she's faced a lot tougher. So I expect big things, and I've singled her in this race.
And James McDonald booking off a couple of rivals to take the starter of Green Shoe. So one that I pegged on top, but not a single for me in that late pick 5. We're going to move on to race number 8 here. And this is our feature this evening, Nick. It's our OSS Gold here for 2-year-old trotting colts. This was scheduled for last weekend, but unfortunately Mother Nature had other plans. So it was postponed to this weekend, and it kind of sucks with the scheduling, given it's going to be a little bit tight, because I do believe we've got some other stakes engagements potentially very soon, like the Wellwood coming up. I'm not sure exactly what the calendar is there, but needless to say, I think it's not going to affect them that far too much. But the outside horse, the morning line choice in the black, this has been a really, really nice son of Green Manalishi here for owner breeder Mardon Stables, as well as trainer Jeff Williams. Put forth 2 really strong efforts after making a miscue in a maiden event at Georgian Downs. Did you go with him on top?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I went away from him. Obviously, a very talented horse. He's been the class of this division so far earlier in the year, but always drawn inside, and tonight moves outside, and that can change things a little bit.
Yeah, obviously the date, we missed a few weeks, obviously like the rest of them, but I think I'm okay with everything. I'm okay with the way this guy is raced. I think he's been super professional. I think the fact that Jody also went to Georgian Downs to race him in an overnight speaks volumes of how much he liked this guy, because he was third in that qualifying effort with him, but you could tell that he knew there was a little bit more with this son of Green Manalishi. But we're going to highlight one just to his inside, Strobe Light. I thought that was a nice third place effort in his most recent try in a gold. July 5th, though, you could see he was a little bit green. He was aggressively handled in that spot, was on the engine, but you could tell he kind of drifted out a little bit in that effort, and he kind of re-engaged when he did see a horse clear in front of him. But we'll see Strobe Light here. You could see in the black, he's the 2-horse with Bobby McClure. He's working out a nice trip there, and he's going to trot on by and be the eventual winner. But check out Tyler Borthen, the rail horse, and Strobe Light, Nick. This is one that I thought was moving forward at the wire, took another step forward here, and hopefully has a helmet to chase here from the outside draw, because I think he's one that's going to merit a lot of respect, especially late in the mile.
Yeah, I think he will. Ben Bayer's barn's been heating up as well. It was an excellent effort by him. Very professionally handled by Tyler as well. He's great with trotters, and him and Ben have a lot of success. So I would expect that horse will be in the mix.
You didn't have him on your
I didn't have him on my ticket,
Okay.
and I went away from in the black. I actually went with the 6-horse. Another great mass that comes from the same connections as Loved by the Masses. A little bit of a Kawartha connection too, Ed Baconi from down there. But I just think that horse draws an ideal spot tonight. I like the way the race could set up with him. And, the two main contenders, what you would call them, drawing to his outside, John. And I also went with the 11-horse of Dave Maneri's. James McDonald jumps back on. I know he's coming out of a grassroots, but he had a really nice race in there. And I just like the price you might get on him. And, cheering for the connections, Clint Guittard, too. That was pretty awesome to see him in the winner's circle after that first race.
Yeah, it doesn't really deter me when you see a horse starting off in a grassroots. I mean, how many great horses here on this circuit, or do we see start off in a grassroots level, just to kind of get a feel?
Yeah.
Nice little confidence boost, nice little spot there, and then we see them move up to the gold level right after. I'm more deterred by the fact that he's got to start from the second tier. Don't really love that for a young trotter making a second lifetime start, but I tell you what, that effort was very, very strong there. You could see Jody Jamieson never really lifted a line in that effort, though. So, but Jody's going to opt for the Jeff Williams trainee, who's done no wrong as well, basically over his last couple of wins. But first class mass, one that we'll be keeping a good eye on as well. All right, there's our thoughts there on the duration of the card, and we'll look at some other stuff as well. We'll highlight the rest of the races throughout the night, though. Nick, we'll talk some late pick 5 as well when we get to it. But we want to start off with the early pick 5, and you and I both submitted tickets, so we're going to look at our approaches here. And I believe I'm going to start things off first. And you and I take a different approach in race 2 in terms of our top selection. But race 1, I am going to go 3 deep. Nick, I'm going to go 3, 4, 5. Cadiddle, our top pick. She's currently the co-favorite at 5-2. But I don't want to discount, Shampoo Girl or the Green Book, ones that I think are going to have a tactical advantage over Cadiddle most likely. But are they going to have enough late in the mile to fend off this Jerry Dufer trainee? I'm not sure. I'm hoping that Phil can kind of stick around and be close to the action, and I'm hoping that she'll have enough late to pick them all off. But I'm going all in on Adina Hanover, Nick, in race 2. I mean, I just love that effort last time out. Hard for me to use both when I just saw a little bit more go late from that Sean Stacy trainee. And race number 3, I'm going to go all in on Cold Creek Fuego. One who you got a chance to sit behind on July 5th in a 5th place effort. I liked his effort at Grand River. I know a breaker caused the line to look a little bit more, or the margin of victory to look a little bit better than initially it was for this daughter of Sunfire Blue Chip. But what did you think of her when you sat behind her that night?
You could tell she had a lot of speed.
Okay.
And actually, I was unfortunately a victim of a breaker in front of me, and got tangled up and, kind of shoved way out of it and didn't get any room to the head of the stretch. So I don't mind your pick there at all. I don't mind you going all in on her.
Race 4, I found this to be a really difficult race. I think Dolly Daydream, from a class standpoint, is in a pretty good spot here to kind of find herself back into the winner's circle, but the outside draw can be a little bit tricky. She got away in a bad spot from the inside over her last couple of tries. Not one that I can go all in on, so I did go 5 deep, 6 deep in that spot, but I'm going all in on a trotter from the 10 hole, making her second career starts. off a break in checks mix. That break did not come off the gate though. That break came in when a couple of rivals did jam up a little bit, and I do think that caused this Clark Bealby trainee to kind of jump it off as well. So I'm hoping it could be smooth sailing from the outside, and I feel pretty good about this ticket. I really do feel good about this one, and one that I think hopefully can reap a okay return. And we're going to take a look at your thoughts, Nick. And we mentioned you provided a nice pick 5 score. It was $3,700 for a buck, I believe, the first time. So now we've got an actual visual graphic. So we've got evidence now that you actually are giving out a pick 5 ticket. Take me through it.
Yeah, the first race I was with you. I thought Cadiddle moving inside, she was going to have, I spoke about that. Her last 4 starts been outside. I like the class for her. Mm-hmm. And I think there's vulnerable horses in here in Shampoo Girl. I like Green Book too, though. I suspected that maybe Shampoo Girl, off that big effort last time after the break, might take a lot of money, as well as Wisdom Hanover. I wasn't expecting that Cadiddle be 5-2, but I still like that. I like that, and I suspect Trevor, even with the stale date, the Green Book, she'll be in the mix. She'll be sitting there, and someone's going to need to be out in the flow, and I could see him sitting there ready to pounce. So that's kind of where I went in the first race. The second race is where we differed, mm-hmm. and I singled the J. I just love her effort last week. I like that. A 2-year-old filly could be shut down, almost looked like she was asleep, and then come back on. And when Bobby got her back in gear, he had a handful. Mm-hmm. And, I just like the way the race is going to set up. I think Adina Hanover is going to have to do a little bit more work. And, we've seen that Jay, even being interfered with, can still pace 51 home in 26. Adina Hanover, obviously 26. I suspect she's going to be able to step up and, pace some time, but she hasn't been there yet. Mm-hmm. So I like that about Jay. Moving over to race 3, I went with the inside 2. Cold Creek Fuego, I obviously have some experience driving her. I know she has a big engine. And she'll be stretched out more tonight. I suspect you're going to see a big effort out of her. But I made my top selection in that race. I was looking for some value, and I just like the way Gucci Sealster has raced. Since requalifying, mm-hmm. Travis has driven her. First started obviously looked like maybe a little bit of conservative drive, but last week she was moving well. She was first up. She kept coming. 27 on the end of it, 53, and I think you might see a bit of easier trip for her from Travis tonight. It looks like the speed for the race is on the outside to begin with, and I could see him, moving to the front and kind of making them catch him.
Mm-hmm. So, and race 4, though, you went 3 deep, though, a race that I struggled with mightily, but you were able to kind of thin it out with just 3 choices here. Yeah,
race 4 is wide open, like you said, and I left Dolly Daydream, who mm-hmm. you kind of liked as your top selection off, and I went with the 6, Louis was on top, but I like the 2, 3, 6. I think all 3 of those could be very capable of being your winner at the end. It's going to matter how the trip sets up, and I suspect First Philly Chip will have a little bit easier time moving down in competition and to the inside. She raced in the same class as Dolly Daydream last time, so that's where I went, and I suspect those 3 fillies will be out near the front. And then to top it off, John, I wasn't as confident, but I tried to go against Lily Rain, suspecting she would be yours, and I went with Southwind Florence, the 1 horse. I'm just really impressed by her qualifier. I drove a horse with a similar qualifier the other day in Corth, a slower track than here, and at first asking 158, back half in 57. And I know Susie's are ready, but I also included the 6. I think you might see a bit more out of her with James McDonald, and the 10, who you're onto with JD. I think she'll be in the race a bit more, and maybe one of them will give Lily Rain all she can handle.
All right, good stuff. I love the fact that if you don't like a chalk, you're just tossing them out entirely. It's almost like you know a thing or two about handicapping. All right, so we're gonna look at some Hambletonian stuff over the course of the weekend, some Hamble fields as well as the Hamble Oaks field, and we're also going to kind of just take a look at maybe some of the fields, some of the undercard races as well, and provide our top selections here as well. And Captain Optimistic is going to be the morning line favorite here in this spot, one that I'm going to side with here in the Cane Pace. Maybe not the same level of depth as we've seen in some other years. Obviously, we remembered Legendary Hanover going that big mile in that effort last time out, though, Nick. And who'd you go with here in this spot?
I went with Captain Optimistic. Obviously, Madden Oaks, we know him from here, North America Cup, Meadowlands Pace, obviously a little bit of controversial, but he raced the other day at Tioga and was nearly beat. I don't think Madden Oaks is a horse that likes to win. Mm-hmm. And I just think, the way it's going to set up, short field, I think those are maybe your two logical ones. Pappy's Pistol didn't race that great last start out, but I went to Captain Optimistic. I like this colt coming into the year, and I think you're going to see a good effort out of him in a winning one.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can follow Madden Oaks because I know he did it comfortably on the lead last time out, but I'm hoping that he has a helmet to chase in Madden Oaks. We're going to look at some other stakes events here coming up. Not sure if we're going to go to another undercard race. We're going to go to the Oaks, one of the headliners here on this 16-pack on Hambo Day. Some of the top fillies didn't make the final, and one of the top fillies, or the top filly in the division, wasn't eligible in Yo Tilly. I went to the rail horse Miss Belmar. I liked her qualifying try. I think there's a good chance we're going to see her race barefoot. I think that's going to help her as well. What about you?
I went to the middle of the gate. I went to Conversano.
Okay.
James McDonald, first time driving for him, but that's the winningest filly. That filly knows how to win, and if you look down there, she has the most wins and the highest percentage of wins in starts, and I think it's going to be a nice start for her. I think there's going to be a lot of inside speed needing to push from the inside. I'd expect Champagne Problems is going to get out of there, but I think James can work out a trip for that, and James has been great in these big races, stepping in first time driving horses. And
great opportunity for him.
Fantastic
This filly has
for him.
taken a huge step forward this year for trainer Juan Cano. You could see how emotional he was in the winner's circle after she won her elimination. Got a little bit sleepy on the lead, but when she sees horses again, she'll fight back. So this is a filly who has been a win machine, and this is a great opportunity for James to get a chance at a Hambletonian Oaks. Obviously, he came close with Righteous Resolve. The pace was just a little bit too quick. Hopefully, the pace can be quick enough for him to be able to chase down horses here with Conversano in what is going to be a wide open Hambletonian Oaks division race here. And we're going to look at some more stakes action here coming up, and we're going to look at the John Cashman Memorial. 11 horses here, so we're going to have a trailer. The morning line favorite, Periculum, Nick, I would say maybe one of the more likely winners on the card. I think there's a lot of nice trotters here, but Periculum coming off a second place effort in the Spirit of Massachusetts, I think he's going to love being back on the big track.
Yeah, when I looked at this race, I didn't, even though it's a full field of 11, I didn't see many options. Periculum had a great effort in Plain Ridge. A lot of people that day saying the track was super hard. So, you saw a lot of these age trotters who don't normally run making breaks. So I think Periculum will like the Meadowlands, and I just think he's the class of the field right now.
I would have to say so as well, but maybe a couple horses can play the role of spoiler, but I just don't really see it here in this spot. And we're going to look at the main event here, the Hambletonian, and one that I think is a very, very wide open event. Morning line favorite, Super Chapter. Before we dig into the field, though, were you a little bit surprised Dexter out for Maryland, or is that what you expected?
No, I expected he would take Maryland. I mean, they're both Melander horses, but Maryland was your top colt last year. But more importantly to me, Courant, the main owner for Melander, that's their horse. So, that's what got it all started, I think, in that connection. So it didn't shock me one bit. I said that after the eliminations, and I've stuck with it.
And you went Maryland? Is that the direction you went?
I went the direction of Maryland.
Okay.
I think Dexter for the first four starts, all seconds, maybe people expecting a little bit more. I think if you look, I think Dexter's driven him fairly conservative. He really hasn't been to the bottom of the well. And I think there's some nice trotters in here, but I think they've been to the well a few times. So.
I went Motocon Legacy, though. I'm gonna hope for some Canadian connections in the Oaks. I'm hoping for some glory here for Luke Blais again in the Hambletonian in the 100th edition, no less. So great opportunity for Louis Waugh here. This guy's been perfect, though, Nick. I know Super Chapter's getting a lot of pub. Maryland, Maximus Miras, and Nordic Catcher based on their elimination performances. Yeah, you know what? The Motocon Legacy just hung on, but you heard Louis talking about the Hopples and his gait a little bit, along with the new bike. And, obviously Luke Blais was openly talking about how he's going to make a shoeing change as well. So I think we're going to see an even better performance from a Motocon Legacy, and I don't expect anything different from a Luke Blais trainee.
No, I hope we see some glory for the Canadian connections. That would be fantastic. Obviously, I'm sure they were happy to win, maybe not thrilled. They knew he wasn't at his best in that elimination, and I hope we see his best here in the final. And really hope that it's Louis and Luke raising that trophy. I went to Maryland. I just think this horse is coming in fresh, and that's who I'm going with.
Can't fault you there. I think the biggest wild card there is Nordic Catcher. He's likely going to go barefoot in that elim, and it was all systems go with the bridle change. And if Oka decides to, put the pedal down and try and bottom this field out from start to finish, it's going to make the race even more interesting. So there's our thoughts there for the Hambletonian, and we kind of touched on our selections though, so already as we gone through each graphic, so not sure if that we're going to see it again. There it is, the Kane Pace, Captain Optimistic for me, Hambletonian Oaks Miss Belmar, the Cashman Periculum, and the 100th Hambletonian Emoticon Legacy. And we'll see your graphic board here as well, Nick, and we kind of spoke about it as well, and it's like a little bit of scruff there going on, eh?
Must have been when the Kings were in the playoffs.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, no, we talked through that, and you know the one horse that I'm interested to see is Meshuggah from the rail with the Goopster.
Oh,
that could be very, very interesting horse in that final.
A quartet of Melander trainees, and again, I spoke with Randy about some parallels. Obviously, Melander having that three-headed monster, Green Manalishi, Green Shoe, and was it Chimpanzee? And Forbidden Trade spoiling the party. He's got a quartet of starters. You know, he's got the top 2 contenders that many people believe. Maybe Emoticon Legacy and Luke Blake can spoil the party as well. Wouldn't be as big of an upset, but it's still maybe not one that's going to be on everybody's radar.
Certainly.
So looking forward to it. All right, there's our Hamble selections. We're going to look at our plays board here for the plays of the night. And I submitted a 4-pack as well. I don't know if Nick submitted a 4-pack or you've got a value play for us, but we're going to highlight those picks right now and get this show on the road. So I kind of touched on some of the selections that I made, Nick, throughout the night. We're going to look at the plays of the night here, and I'm going to go best bet Adina Hanover. You and I going head-to-head there. All in, Cold Creek Fuego. I think that this filly, really curious to see what she can do on the big track. I think she's going to translate nicely given that most recent victory. Maiden Breaker checks mix, hoping that she can get the job done despite post 10. And my gold moment, Nick, Strobe Light. Like that effort last time out. I'm hoping he can take a bigger step forward there. And not sure what you submitted or not, but I think we've got a value play from you, or a price play.
I think we did. We had a price play, and I think you're going to see a long shot, my price play in the long shot value in Southwind Florence. I just think this filly's going to come in with the much bigger effort. It's kind of a hidden qualifier over a loose track, and I suspect that the Susie Kerwood trainee will be ready to go. And you know, the rail's a little tricky, we know that, especially for first-time starters, 2-year-old fillies. But wouldn't shock me when she comes out on the winning end of it.
And that's why she is labeled a long shot play, because that's exactly what she's going to be. Gislaine Paquette, Cold Creek Fuego, his serious invader. I agree with that one. And Garnet Barnsdale going in the finale with the spot play, Wicked Prince. He spoke about that on a Ontario Racing video. He said that he kind of just paced a little bit too quick of a middle half, and he's hoping that if he gets a little bit more rated speed, that this guy can put forth a good effort here in the finale. There's our thoughts. Thanks for joining me on the pre-show. You're going to stick around all night, and where you're going to provide your opinions, your analysis, and it's going to be a fun 10-pack here on this Thursday. Best of luck. We'll be with you all night.